Hello, everyone. I'm Darian Gold, and welcome to All Things Pilates Season 6. As we dig deeper into the life of a contrologist, this season's guest list shares what the Pilates methodology can offer to anyone who desires health and wellness. On this show, we'll explore, seek, and investigate what's possible when we incorporate Contrology into our lives. The first-generation teachers, meaning students who learned the Contrology system from Joseph Pilates, went on to develop their own interpretation of Joe's method. One of his students, Kathy Grant, left her own indelible mark on the Pilates community. Here to talk about Kathy is Blossom Leilani Crawford, one of Kathy's main disciples and confidant. Blossom is widely known in part because of her teaching online at Pilatesology and Pilates Anytime. And now we have her live, sort of live. Hello, Blossom. Thank you for your time today.
Hi, Darren.
Hey.
Really good to be here.
Thank you. At her very essence, who was Kathy Grant?
I would say she was a mystery. She was a little bit of an enigma. She definitely, you could walk in the room and not know which one you were going to get. But at the heart of her, she was a hard worker. She demanded excellence. She was intuitive. And in the studio, taskmaster. Outside of the studio, a really good time. Sometimes she would show up as well, but those are the two different Kathys.
Did everybody feel the same as you?
Yes. And that was the other thing. She treated everyone the same. Famous, not famous, which sort of made it easier.
That's a nice policy to have, don't you think?
Oh, very much so.
How and why did Kathy change the Contrology system?
I think just out of out of necessity for her. Like she used to talk about when she was teaching children at Dance Theater of Harlem, and she would, instead of telling them to freeze, she would sort of go, okay, statue. She really played with the imagination, and maybe the statue was doing who knows what pose, but that's much more fun in the imagination than coming to a V-sit or whatever it was, right? So, she was very childlike herself and loved to play. And so I think that's how she changed it. She really thought about imagery a lot. And the way she changed it, I was thinking about this today. In choreography, she would often talk about like spine alignment. She would always find those places where like, oh wait, that's what you struggle with. Let's look at that. She wasn't afraid of sort of bending the choreography to whatever the person needed.
So she didn't feel beholden to an order that Joe did with her?
Well, however, when she taught at her mat classes, before Pilates became popular, she kind of did whatever she wanted. As Pilates became popular, she had to go away from that creativity because we were headed to a different place where Pilates was becoming popular. And she did not want people to go, oh, I learned Pilates. And she felt a responsibility for the person to then know what the hundreds was. Right. And so we actually did the full order as Pilates became more popular. We headed more in that department because that was where the world was going.
But intuitively, she kept her dance alive and her sense of movement.
Definitely. She still had her little inserts, she would call them, but she always said, this is mine. This is Mr. Pilates, right? She would always be clear of like, oh, this is me playing her. This is me because of this. And this is me because I'm doing something different.
Did she talk about her days with Joe and just
Yes, she did.
How he was with her?
Yes, she did. She would talk about how he didn't really use a lot of words, how Clara was sort of the kinder, softer one. And I say that with a little bit of a pause because, in Pilatesology did a little interview with Sanjay Mayo not too long ago, or maybe it was a few years ago now. And Sanjay talked about how Kathy worked in the back room. And Sanjay thought it was actually because Kathy was Black.
Oh.
And Pilatesology, they called me, they said, do you know anything about this? And I said, I don't know anything about this. But I also believe that Kathy, out of respect for Mr. Pilates, did not bring that up. That is also the kind of woman she was. Right?
So the thinking was, that's how she's been treated up till then in her life.
Right.
So she made the assumption.
Well, and she also wouldn't hold it against it. I mean, so for instance, Kathy, before she would teach her mat work classes at NYU before every term, she'd sort of read Return to Life. And as you know, there's a controversial line in there. The N word is in there, right? In an old copy. And she was so mad. She was like, oh, closed the book and went to bed and told me she was so mad. And then her husband sort of said, well, Kathy, that's the word we used back then. And so she pulled back and I was like, yeah, you're right. That is, even though she was angry about it, that was the time. And so, so it's a line.
But she didn't let any of that stop her.
Nope. No, I mean, come on. And we also talked about, she would compare to a genius choreographer. They can be terrible people and really mean, but they're brilliant. And that brilliance, there's a price to pay on lots of different levels.
Totally.
So she understood that's an artist. You're dealing with a brilliant mind, and sometimes you have to deal with a certain amount of crap.
She originally went to Joe because of a knee issue?
Correct. She had 2 knee surgeries on the same knee in 1 year and no rehab.
Because of Joe?
No, the surgery. Oh, no. So she had no rehab because
they didn't know.
The rehab didn't exist. And so every time she went back to dance, she had, 2 different size legs, and she was crying because it hurt so much. And that's when someone was like, you've got to go see Mr. Pilates. And that's when she went to Mr. Pilates and her knee got better there.
Now, we were told way back when, here's more lore. Is it true that he kept her on the Wanda chair for a year?
I don't know that. Haven't heard exactly that, but she did not go out into the big room for a long time. She didn't. She was a Wanda chair girl. That is true. I don't know exactly the amount of time. And it's true. She didn't exercise with everybody else in the big arena. There's a small room, the big room. She was in the small room for a long time.
So it could have just been not that she was Black per se, but because she was rehabbing a very specific part that needed a smaller space, didn't require.
I see what you're saying. I'm actually talking about 2 different things. I think when she was working there, he might have kept her in the back room, working in the back room. So Sanjay remembers like learning from her in the back room, not exercising in there. So it's 2 different back room experiences. Yeah. It sounds so shady.
It does. And let me tell you, I think Mary Bowen talks about being in the back room with him. And there's a third story about him, the way he touched his female students.
Well, Kathy would always say he would show up at the bottom of your former when you were doing semicircle.
Every time?
Every time.
Oh my gosh. Can you be any more obvious?
I know. Well, it was, a very different time.
Very different. Actually, when you teach, were you taught to never stand there or to set a body up and then you move away?
Kathy wasn't formal about things like that. So I'm not formal about things like that. Kathy was not very formal about the way you got on and off of the reformer.
Oh.
So, yeah. And touch, I mean, please, that woman, when I first went to Kathy.
Her hands were all over you?
Oh, yeah. She cupped my groin. And then, years later, she was like, yeah, I can't do that anymore. I could get sued. So it's like, yes. But, for me, I knew, there's a very different kind of touch when you're touching in a sexual manner. This was not sexual whatsoever. So that's why it didn't freak me out. But yeah, she was really, so those lines are not very defined for me by Kathy. They're defined, I think, by other parts of my life now and the time that we live in, but not by Kathy.
How did you actually meet her?
I was a freshman at New York University in 1993. She was my first class. And she said, has anybody done Pilates before? And I thought I had done Pilates before. And I raised my hand and she looked at me, she goes, where? I said, Hawaii. And she just sort of did a batting action.
That's Ramona. Ramona did that all the time.
She was like, please, you didn't do Pilates in Hawaii. And, in that time, she was right. I had not done Pilates. We could trace it. The communities were so small back then.
What were your thoughts when you first met her?
So it was very specific. So she had us we did maybe 3 moves. It was sit up, but you had to sit there and just sit there and sit there and sit there. And, sitting up straight is work. And we did maybe one very slow, excruciating sit up several times. And I thought, wow, if I can't do that, how do I expect to dance all day?
Yes.
So that was my thing of like, there's something about this lady. There's something about this that I was like, I'm coming to class. And also I came from like, I was paying, like I barely got to NYU. I was not messing around. I was coming to class.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long before you became her demonstrator? How did that play out?
Yeah, it was, honestly, I think it was kismet in a certain sense. I graduated 3 years after meeting her, and I had a terrible summer or something. I don't even remember how long. It was a terrible summer. It's that terrible thing where it's like, and now you're out in the world. Try to audition. Yeah, try to audition and have a job. It was awful, right? And I was supporting myself, waiting tables and walking by the ice cream thing, like just like eating a lot of ice cream. No, seriously, to the point where like a ketchup bottle fell over when I was squeezing between two tables. I was like, who was that? It was my butt. It was, and I like, I was just like not in a routine. Like I love a schedule, and I was at a terrible bartending job. And I just remember thinking, God, how can I convince Kathy to let me take her class again? Which is insane because you don't go back to college. And literally, I checked my voicemail that afternoon. No, seriously, that afternoon. And it was a call from Kathy. And she said, Blossom, I'm having a little procedure done. I need a demonstrator for 4 weeks. 2 weeks later, she said, just keep coming. And so I did it for free for 3 years, every morning. And yeah, that was it. That's how I did it. I know, right? It still is just like, wow.
Oh my gosh.
And it was really a very old fashioned apprenticeship. I tell this to people, we didn't exchange money. I did give her money once when we sort of were trying to do something different, and I handed her a check for 10 sessions, which was still like
$50.
Ridiculous. And later I realized she never cashed the check. It was more of like a symbolic thing, but no, we never exchanged money, which is just even still like, I feel like in the beginning, she was really giving to me. And at the end, I was trying to give to her as much as I could.
So in total years, how long did you know her?
17.
Oh.
Yeah.
She passed at what age?
2010, almost 90.
Oh, that seems to be the number.
I know. The 80s seem like that's when things start going awry. 70s, it was just like, oh yeah, 80s was.
Did she keep practicing though?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She would roll. Yeah, she had this little spot by her, little dinner table that she would roll around in the morning. And yeah.
Did she have pain in her body, or was she pretty pain-free?
Oh, no. Toward the end, she had like these weird ligament tears and ruptures. It was a little rough there at the end, but she was so resilient. Like, when the blackout in New York City happened, she had to walk up 14 flights of stairs.
Oh.
And she was like, yep, I knew I could do it. She's just of that generation.
No complaining.
Just like, I'll figure it out. Yeah.
Kathy and Romana, another Joe disciple, were not only influential in bringing Joe's method to the public, they were friends, correct?
Very much so. Very much so.
Did you also learn Joe's work through Romana's lens?
Oh, yes. Well, that's where Kathy sent me to Romana to get certified.
Okay, because Romana had a program and Kathy did not?
Correct.
Her choice?
Very much so. Kathy always said she did not want to have a training program, ever, ever, ever.
Yeah, it took her out of the work. It took her out of the intimacy of the work, I'm sure. Yeah,
it's also just, that's not who Kathy was. And I didn't get it then. I get it so much now. Like, she just was like, no, I'm not doing that. She, they're back in her, like in the 70s, 80s, she taught, before training programs, she taught a few of the people who assisted her, she taught them how to teach. And even she would be like, I don't have energy for that, so I'm not doing that.
The way they approach the work, similar, dissimilar?
I feel like the fact that Romana was ahead of a training program made it like such a different beast. And that was the thing I had to wrap my head around the most, because for me, I'm a Kathy fan. I was just like, Kathy, your way is so much better. And Kathy was just like, no, baby girl, that is not it. And she really made me be like, what are we trying to do? And I said, oh, we're trying to move people. She goes, that's it. We're just trying to move people. And I had to really look at it from that lens. And so in that sense, it was, I really looked at how Romana did things. It's like, yeah, she's got a training program. You've got to get people in and get people out. And, and she's got a studio that she runs and they're making money. Kathy had a very different beast. So she got to do different things. So similar in the sense that, Pilates is kind of great in a certain way. Like you do those movements, there's going to be a lot that gets done, whether your teacher is really skilled or not skilled. I'm sorry.
You know what Romana used to say?
What? Bad
Pilates is better than no Pilates. I never understood that in the beginning because as a technician, you're thinking, how could you?
Right.
People are so sloppy. How can you get the most out of these exercises? But all these decades later, yes, we just want to move people and the work will find its way in the body when it's time.
Yes. I remember I was trying to teach someone and they had this thing and I kept trying to reinvent the wheel, like do this order that did this thing. And then one day I was really tired and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go through the motions, meaning like go through my orders and every
be a robot.
Turn, it was like, oh yeah, that's great for them. Oh yeah, that's great for them too. Why am I trying to reinvent the wheel? Sometimes you can just actually lean into the system, the order, whatever you want to call it. And that does great work too. So, yeah.
Do you think if Kathy were alive today, what do you think that she would say about the state? You just took a deep, deep sigh. What do you think she would say about the state of affairs in the Pilates community?
It's funny because I think I've been sighing a lot as I look at social media lately. And I've been thinking to myself, is this what Kathy felt like 20 years ago? Like, like, where are we headed? Where are we
What
going?
is this?
Yeah. And I thought, so, because Kathy was so great at being like, yep, this is where the world's headed. We're going to try to go this way. She didn't fight that. But I think she must have been horrified and disappointed. I know she was back then. But things have changed. Meaning, back then you couldn't study with several different teachers. Remember that? Like if you had a teacher, you went to that teacher. For Kathy, if you studied with Kathy and with another teacher, it would be a little bit like, really? You're just studying with two different people? It would be a little bit of a thing. And, and there was a sort of a feeling of like, oh, that was I made up that exercise, right? There was a little bit of ownership. Ownership like that doesn't exist anymore.
Because of social media.
Because of social media and because, like people also don't give a crap where it came from or what it's about. I think the context is still interesting. But I feel like at once she would sort of be going with it and maybe just shaking her head, like maybe like I am now for the first time.
Do you think it's has served the Pilates community overall, having everyone so connected, or it's been a disservice to the depth that's possible with the work?
Yeah, what I feel like I hear the most is people trying to understand what Pilates is. And I can't answer that question for them because I know what it is for me because of where I came from in the industry. I don't know how people answer that question anymore. Does that make sense? Because it's not really about lineage anymore. That's what it used to be about. I think in my era, it's like, oh yeah, you're from here. Okay. Oh, where were you trained? Okay. So I sort of know what that's going to be like. With all of this, I don't know if it served it in the sense where, maybe people are able to do it all over the world. Like, I can teach someone who's 4 hours away in the middle of the boonies in Australia. Like they can tune it. Like that's pretty cool, right? The quality of it, that's the ticker. That's the hard part, And even myself, I've had to let go of that because I'm a Virgo. I'm a perfectionist.
I'm a Virgo.
Come
on now.
Right? There's a lot of us Pilates teachers who are Virgos because it is a very exacting, like,
precise.
Okay, yes. And I feel for them because I feel like that's what they're missing. They're missing that, like, what is it? And I know what it is because I did it. I do it. Does that make sense? And I don't know if they know what it is and they're searching.
How do we keep the legacy alive then? And the different lineages?
For me, it's about still talking about them all, right? And like, even when I was trained by Kathy and I would do thread the needle, she'd go, oh, it's not just thread the needle, it's Eve Gentry's thread the needle.
Oh.
So even when I teach it, it's Eve Gentry's thread the needle. Like, so that was sort of ingrained in my training. And she would always say, that's how we keep people alive, is you say their names. And so that's what I do. I say their names. And yeah, like when I teach my mat class and I'm like, oh, this is the Fletcher, cat to swan. And by the way, I do a bastardization of it. So just don't hold me to this, kind of like this. Cause not really Fletcher trained, but this is the choreography of it and I love it. I'm not sure, I don't do the breathing of it, but I want people to sort of know that there's other stuff out there and how great it can be, even if it's not your usual.
Why do you think that the younger generations, or let's just say the social media generations, seem to not care? What is happening in their training?
This is going to sound terrible, but what do they get from it? What, you know what I mean? Like, what are they going to get from that? Like, is it
knowing
their
history?
More followers? Yeah, I don't think there's anything to it. I don't think there's any
substance for.
Yeah, or reason to make them want it. Like for me, it's how I understand the work is seeing the field and going, okay, oh, I see how that kind of, and then look, this is some crossover with Kathy and Ron or Romana and Kathy. Like, look, we all cross over here. I find that so interesting. And that for me is the exciting part about the work. I don't know what it is for the new generation. I don't know. So I hope that at some point they get it or that, they want to, because at a certain point you go, what else is out there? I hope. Because I think that's what, so
the curiosity needs to be there.
For all of us, right? Because doesn't everyone get bored? I think everyone must get bored at a certain point. If you're just doing the same thing every time. And granted, I know there are some people who love that. I am not that girl. Yeah. So it's curiosity and then be willing to dig in. Yeah. Yeah. And also to go, maybe I'm going to revise the way I used to do that. And that was what Kathy would do too. She would sort of be like, okay, I'm still going to do that, but I'm just going to alter the ending just a little bit so that it fits more to what I think is what the science is saying about the low back, something like that.
So she would talk about, this is how I've interpreted Joe's whatever exercise. This is the reason why I'm teaching it to you this way. I had a different experience with Joe. He had me do this particular exercise a different way because of my knee issue, for example. But you're all healthy, quote unquote, normal bodies. So this is how I would like you to do it. She would do that. She wouldn't say all of that. But yes, she would do that. She would do that. Were her classes large? At NYU? As time went on, her class actually became mandatory. So in my era, it was suggested for 4 weeks. And then everyone stopped coming because, by the way, remember when 8 o'clock was early? So, classes at 8 o'clock. And if you're a young 18-year-old, are you going to go to the 8 o'clock class? Right. But eventually it became mandatory. And that's when her classes got bigger. But no, so her classes were actually, I was so lucky. I would be in class with her. More intimate. Oh, so intimate. Yeah. But then she'd teach on big groups. She was sort of ready. She was a show person. Once a person knows how to perform, she could put it on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did she ever teach at the Pillow? I don't think so, no, but she taught in Japan. She taught at Connecticut College, but I don't think she taught at the Pillow ever. Huh. Maybe not invited, or she just it wasn't the right time for her. It seems like it would be a great fit. Yeah. Yeah, you would think. And especially, Kathy was born in Boston. You think Massachusetts, but, she didn't love Boston. Because racist. Mm-hmm. The racism. Actually, yeah, I remember saying, her brother had passed away. And I said, oh, Kathy, I'm so sorry. How do you feel? Her last brother who lived in Boston and her last relative in Boston. And she said, I never have to go to Boston. By the way, there was an F word in there. I never have to go to Boston again. And I was like, not what I expected. Yeah. But yeah, Boston. Do you find yourself teaching very much like her? God, I wish. And sometimes I wish. I have moments where something just comes out of my mouth. I'm like, oh boy, better watch that.
So a long time ago, Kathy watched me teach, and she just very quiet and very.
Did she tell you? She tell you she was going to watch you, and were you nervous?
Nope. She just showed up.
Oh.
Just showed up to class. I forgot. There was a semester where she was recovering from an illness, and so I had taken over one of her classes, and she just showed up to class, sat down, and just did the whole thing. And at the very end, she just said a few things. She goes, "You like to stretch, don't you?" I said, "Yes, I do." Yeah. Yes, right. And then she just sort of giggled. She goes, "And that one exercise, you weren't ready for that one." No, I wasn't. And she just said quietly, "Honey, you can't teach like me. You got to be you." What a gift.
Yes.
For someone who wanted to be her so much, right?
Yes.
I wanted to be her. And then I realized you can't be anyone but yourself.
Yes.
Right? I can't pretend I'm a 70, 80-year-old woman and command a room like that. I had to go in my own way. And it was a gift. It was a gift that she gave me to sort of go, "Honey, you don't have to do it like you can do it your way." Which was, really lovely. But it took me, took me a while to sort of hear what she said. But I remember that she's like, you can't.
She also was saying that you're capable.
Yes, that's what she was saying. And, sometimes I go, "Oh, Kathy, what if we try this image?" And she'd go, "Well, then you should say that." Which was really lovely that she would let me even sort of be there with her. Does that make sense? Like she would even go, "Oh, yeah, if you think that, you should say that." It was just lovely. It was so.
She spoke her truth, as I always tell people, especially my students who are teachers too, because there is a lot of pressure and intimidation, unfortunately, in this community still. I mean, I don't understand it, but it sounds like Kathy was just super true to herself.
She didn't know how to be any other way, honestly. Her husband and I talked about it once. He goes, "The problem with Kathy, she can't lie very well." And it's true. She was not a liar. And that's why you didn't go and ask her a question unless you were ready for the truth. In fact, when I first wanted to get certified, I said, "I'd like to get certified." And she goes, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yes, please." And she sort of was like, "Okay, do the hundreds." And I did the hundreds. And she goes, "And this was wrong. And this was wrong. And this was wrong." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then a few months later, I realized that was a little bit of a test. And I said, so I went back and I said, "I'm actually not asking you. I'm telling you I'm going to get certified."
Oh.
And she's like, "Oh, I'll call Romana."
Hey, everyone. Want to level up your teaser? When I'm not interviewing or editing, I'm helping students just like you get to the next level. If you'd like to understand the Contrology technique, come learn from me, whether online or in person. Just know I'm here and happy to help. Now, back to the interview.
Right? It was a little bit of a rite of passage, like you're going to do so because I was also going to represent her, not just me, right? So, and it was a very special thing. She actually had not spoken to Romana in a few years. It was literally.
Did Romana treat you well?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. She knew. Kathy called her and she said, "I told her you were special to me."
Oh, that's sweet.
I know. It was very sweet. And actually, I talk about this sometimes when I went to get, I forgot what they called it, when you went to sort of audition to be in the program. Romana, you remember how Romana taught. And I was watching her, and then she sort of just said to me, "Okay," I was coming out of jackknife. She was assisting me, kind of helping me the way down. And she said, "Okay, Blossom, I need you to breathe on the left side."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "That doesn't sound very much like you." And she goes, "Because you train with Kathy, I know you know how to do that." Which to me was just like this ultimate respect moment between the two of them. Without even, I was just like, "I got you."
That's lovely.
It was really lovely. No, they were really good friends. Really close friends. They were really close.
Do you see yourself writing a book about her?
I'd love to. I think the book, it would be part her and part me because it's an interesting intertwining. But yes, that actually is still on my bucket list of things to do.
Has anyone asked you or suggested? I'm sure.
No one formally. I've always wanted to, but yes. And by the way, the inside cover, I already see it. You know the faces that people make when they're sort of like doing like a Pilates thing, and then they're like, "Oh," like that's the inside covers, all those faces in my mind.
Great.
That's
great.
Wouldn't it be great?
That means it already exists because now it's in your mind.
Oh yeah, no, but like literally when I think of my bucket list, that is actually one of the last things I have left. I've done a lot of the things I wanted to. Yeah.
Let me ask you about Pilatesology and Pilates
Sure.
Anytime.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about both platforms
Mhm.
and why are they so different? And do you have different experiences with each one? Are you treated differently?
Well, yeah. So I think they're two, even though they are sort of both online platforms, we have sort of like the big guns, which is for me, Pilates Anytime, right? That's a big money maker. That's a huge company. And it shows, right? It's very diverse. Their thing is Pilates in general, right? Pilatesology's methodology or sort of idea was like, we're only going to have Romana teachers. And it's very interesting now because I was like, well, I wonder how long that's going to last. Meaning, because, with Romana not being here anymore and passing away years ago, like how long can you keep having just Romana only teachers? So that's been interesting to sort of watch that evolution of the just Romana people sort of changing, or like who that
Making
or like
room
what
for
that
others.
like the umbrella that covers just Romana people, right? Like it used to be a much smaller umbrella. The umbrella is getting a lot bigger, so that's interesting to watch for me as also a Romana trained person. And now I think they're both having identity, not crises, but their identities are morphing,
Changing.
Yeah, they're changing
Because of social media in general?
Yes, and also like you can see how Pilates Anytime, like and it's not because I don't think I'm not connected anymore, but there's a lot of new faces and people out there, and it's sort of like, well, yes, you're on a Pilates machine, but is it Pilates? And I'm not even a Pilates snob in that sense. So it's interesting to sort of see that stuff come out there and be like, Pilates Anytime is that, like that's what I sort of see that. But I also see that too in sort of like Pilatesology people. It's interesting the people who like one subscription over the other. So yeah, depending on I think what like some people are overwhelmed by the number of classes on Pilates Anytime. It's thousands and thousands, right? Some people prefer the smaller Pilatesology.
And how do you feel about the instruction in general?
It depends on the teacher. Right? It depends on the teacher. I think with Pilates Anytime, I do find myself feeling like an old lady being like, is that really Pilates? Like, because I do wonder, like, just because it's done with a Pilates machine, is it Pilates? Like, I feel like there's a lot of sort of stuff out there that's just.
Well, circling back to what you were saying in the beginning, because here we have all these new generations and they may not be that interested in the lineages, but the lineages is where the work is.
Or where it at least came from, right? The root of
where it came from.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think that the other big thing I learned from Kathy is, she taught amazing, incredible dancers who would be like performing around the world. And you would get into the studio, and if you did an arabesque in there, she would be like, what is that? Right? We are not dancing. We are doing Pilates. It is two different things. There's no showing off. There was no showing off in Kathy's studio. If you know what I mean? Like,
oh boy, that's refreshing because, that wasn't the case at Drago's.
No, that's it. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah. So, Kathy was really like, nope, we're doing parallel arabesque. You always do a big arabesque like that. That's not going to help. What are you going to do? Do that again? That's not going to strengthen you. So there was no showing off in Kathy's studio. So and that's what I sometimes feel like the flashy Pilates is just like, okay, is that coming from a place of real strength? Do you know what I mean? Because that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see if that has a root of like some serious strength behind it.
And longevity.
Yeah. Because, by the way, can you do it in another way? Because you can only do that for so long.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, again, old lady sitting on the patio being like, I remember remembrance of Kathy being at a Pilates conference, and we were watching these beautiful demonstrators at a Pilates booth. And, Kathy would literally like eating a sandwich at a table, and she goes, he's in his feet. Like,
yes.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's pretty, it's beautiful, but can you also do it this way? Can you do it this way? Can you do it this way? Okay. If you can do it all those ways, you got it. Right.
Yeah. And only people who really understand the work would understand what she meant by saying, oh, he's in his feet.
Correct.
So if you haven't learned the connection from your feet to your seat, and when you have to let go of the feet so that you're up and you're underneath your pelvis, if you don't know how to apply that technique to your exercises, I don't know. Are you doing Contrology?
I mean, you're doing a kind of Contrology, but I bet I can make it better.
Yes.
I bet I can find a little something different.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And that's the thing. And, like even when you were standing, Kathy would like when you'd lift your heels up, Kathy would be like, okay, that's good. Now you have to also lower your heels a little bit and get strong there. And you have to get strong in all the different levels of your heels being up off the ground, not just up high.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But people were not taught like that. People were just like, here I am in this position. It's like, I think you've been there a lot. We should change that.
Yeah. And you're locked out.
Yeah. A lot. Right. Right. Exactly. It's real pretty though.
Exactly. You work with new teachers, correct?
Yes. 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 Yes.
And
I just had one yesterday.
Okay. And what is that process like for a new teacher working with you?
They are often giving like a puzzled face. This with the woman I taught yesterday, she has been taught to tuck a lot, right? And there's a place for tucking. I'm not saying that tucking is bad, but if you tuck all the time, that's not good. And so, and she was like, well, if I do what you asked me to do, which in my vocabulary would be called baby butt, right? Stick your tush out ever so slightly. She felt like she was like, my ribs are here and my back is, and I said, yeah, but so trying to just sort of gently be like, I need you to think about this whole body picture, and so that's what I dance around. Like, let me just sort of open this door a little bit for you. See what you think. You tell me how it feels. You like it, great. You don't like it, fine. Like, it's okay.
So some of the teachers that come to you already went through a program or have had Pilates before you, but they came to you with perhaps some movement patterns that aren't healthy based on the exercises they were taught.
Correct. Right. Yeah. And I think that's what I sort of do well, is to sort of identify like, okay, wait, why are you doing it that way every single time? Right. Tell me why. I remember once I did this Alan Herdman workshop in London, and we were doing chest extension on the reformer, and he said this really great thing. He said, okay, everybody. So he's taught like 5 variations. And he goes, okay, on the next one, do anything you want. And the whole room froze.
Uh-huh.
As a joke, I think I like coughed. Like, you said different. And he was like, yes. But that's the problem, right? We need to be thinking teachers and movers in this work. Like you should be able to be like, you could stick your tongue out, you could roll your eyes and it would be different. You could tilt your head to the left. That's all he was asking for. And, everyone was like, what do you mean different? They froze. And that's the thing that makes me go, that's the thing that worries me about the Pilates industry. And I bet Kathy was worried about that too, because, she used to say one size does not fit all, which it seems to be like everyone's favorite phrase now. It's like, actually, Kathy started that one. Like, yeah, it does not. It's not for everyone.
That's the name. That's the name of your book.
One size does not fit all. It should be. Yeah. One size. Yeah. And it's funny, but a lot of people are using that as sort of like their title of workshops and stuff. And it's like, and that's, it's funny because that's what Kathy had a hard time with when it came to like that's why she didn't quite understand like teacher training. She was like, how do I teach this on this?
To that body?
Yes. Like, so Jillian Hessel came out with a book and she was like, here's Kathy's rowing. And Kathy got so effing mad. She was just like, that's not my rowing. And I just like, what are you so mad about? You got credit for an exercise. Aren't you happy? And she was saying, no, Blossom, that's not my rowing. That's the rowing I made up for Jillian.
Oh.
Right? It wasn't the rowing. It was so, and that's how Kathy thought. She was just like, that's not my rowing. That's what I made up for her.
Does Jillian say that in her book?
Well, no, because the book already came out before. But I will tell Jillian, and Jillian, I think she told Jillian. Jillian was like, oh, But it was a different time where Jillian was being respectful, being like, oh, look here, Kathy, this is your rowing, and she'd be like, no, it's not. That's the one I made up for you.
So in a way, that mindset and that sense of respect is, I don't want to say gone, but it's not in the forefront.
Definitely not. No, definitely not. And I feel like some people think that it would take away their power to say, oh, I got this from so-and-so. And I just say it because it does not take your power away. It actually makes you more powerful to go, yeah, I didn't make that up. No,
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But I wish people would sort of think about like, yeah, who cares? Like, but just, just say where you got it from. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Your studio's in Brooklyn?
Yeah, it's this tiny little studio, not even 300 square feet.
Where in Brooklyn?
It's, again, a neighborhood no one will know. It's called Vinegar Hill, which is next door to Dumbo.
Okay, because I lived in Brooklyn Heights forever ago. Things have changed, I'm sure.
Okay, so it's not far from Brooklyn Heights. So, but I call it a pocket neighborhood. Like you don't go to Vinegar Hill and then continue on to another part of Brooklyn. You get to Dumbo, and then you have to sort of kind of reverse track back to Vinegar Hill and go back from whence you came. Because there's nothing, I literally am on like the edge of the world.
Wow.
Right.
And you've been there for how long?
I've been in that neighborhood for 7 years. And in Dumbo, I was in Dumbo for 9 years. Maybe it's actually 8 now. I'm getting up there. Yeah, I think I'm at 18 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have a very small operation on purpose.
Yes. And you travel, obviously.
I do. I'm very excited. I have some big trips coming up in Europe this year.
Wonderful. Can you talk about it?
Oh, yeah. I'm headed to Estonia for the first time and then back to Switzerland, which I think this will be my 5th or 6th trip to Switzerland. I love Switzerland and the chocolate. So I'm going to be teaching there at a conference with alongside Kyria of the Fletcher Pilates work. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. And I can't wait.
If anyone wants to reach out to you now, what's the best way?
I would say 2 ways. Email me at bridgepilates@gmail.com, or I also have my own little streaming site at blossompilates.com.
So you have a streaming, say that again?
So I have my own streaming site, which I quietly have, which, with all the Kathy stuff that I sort of gathered over the years, I got a little nervous, maybe nervous. I really just wanted to download it.
Yeah.
I worked with Kathy for a very long time. Yes, because I know it in a very visceral level. I can like strongly say like, I know it. Like if you want to interview me about all the cats, I can do all the cats right now. Like it's in the deep memory bank. However, I would like to move on a little bit and sort of like not have to hold on to it as tightly. That's the way I think of it. So I created my own streaming site to sort of have a library of Kathy's exercises and also kind of start creating my Pilates
legacy
vision. Yeah. So I have my own little streaming site that I love. It's a labor of love. And I'm really excited about some upcoming projects that I have on it.
And do people pay for a subscription?
Mm-hmm. It's a subscription-based site.
It's Bridge Pilates?
That one is Blossom Pilates. So my studio is Bridge Pilates.
Okay.
I know both these. And then my streaming site is Blossom Pilates.
Wonderful. I wish you amazing success on it. It sounds fantastic.
Oh, thank you. It's really fun. It's really fun. Yeah.
It's another avenue for your talent and to just keep moving the work forward.
Yes. For people who want to and care, right? Because it's okay that you don't care and that this isn't interesting to you. But if you are interested, here's a place that we can sort of have ideas and talk and because just like everybody else, I'm in the studio with people trying to figure out how to move these people as best as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Blossom, so much for your time today. It's a pleasure to share with you.
Oh, Darian, really fun to remember and just to, as we say in Hawaii, talk story.
All Things Pilates is produced, written, edited, and hosted by me, Darian Gold. Mastered audio mix, Fabian Romero. Original music, a.k.a. Johnny. And we'd love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. That way you let all of us know what you like about All Things Pilates. Also, if you're interested in helping to support this podcast, become a subscriber. It helps to cover all the back-end costs that accrue when producing a show. To learn more about how you can be part of our growing community, check out our show notes. Yesterday, I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today, I am wise, so I am changing myself. Rumi.